Hello, and welcome to the Sports Trifecta presents The Season, the 3-year-old horse racing season of 2018. That featured a Triple Crown winner, Justify. I don't know, I'll make up a new title every week it seems now. But thanks for joining us. My name is Sean O'Brien. I'm part of the Sports Trifecta. You can find us on Twitter at The Sports Tri, that's TRI. So thanks for joining us. This is a recap of the Triple Crown portion of the 3-year-old season. What a Triple Crown part it was there, huh? We had a winner, Justify, unless you live under a rock and you just happen to stumble across this podcast, not know anything about it in horse racing. We had our second Triple Crown winner in the last 4 years after a 37-year drought. All 4 of us that are in the Sports Trifecta this year, I know it's like a superfecta, right? But in any case, all 4 of us were present at Belmont Park. We had quite the time and got to see Justify cross the finish line at the finish line, and that was kind of all I could see because we were amongst that crazy crowd that was going on. However, with that, since my view was so limited at the track, I got home and I looked at Twitter, and all of a sudden I saw all these posts about restoring hope and how Florent Geroux just had a crazy first half of the race on restoring hope, and I went and I watched the replay, and man, it's a little fishy there. There's been a whole bunch of talk on Twitter about this. This made national news too, obviously because Justify won the Triple Crown, but nobody was talking about that. Everybody was talking about, was this on the up and up? Was this a legit win? I mean, did Justify only win because of the help? Did he need the help? I'd like to throw in my opinion on this because I've been kind of critical of Justify ever since, he first burst onto the map back in mid-February. He got a lot of hype, and I thought he was just overhyped. I wasn't 100% sure, as a lot of people seemed to be. Like, a lot of people were just, this horse is amazing, he's going to win the Triple Crown, he's going to win the Breeders, he's Secretariat, he's the next Secretary, he's amazing, can't beat him. And from what I was seeing, yeah, he ran some really good, his maiden race and his second race. There were at shorter distances, and he was blowing the field away. But that doesn't, prove anything to me. Then he won the Santa Anita Derby, and he did it against Bolt D'Oro. But to me, his time wasn't amazing in that. Then he went into the Kentucky Derby, and this is where the whole Triple Crown, part started up. So I'm going to take a look at this through the eyes of, is Justify an all-time great yet? I'm going to use that big word, Y-E-T, 3 letters, but they mean so much. So if I go back, I just mentioned his pre-Derby stuff. Let's start at the Kentucky Derby. And I'm just going to go with the times here. In the last 50 years, going back 50 Derbies, Justify's time, granted it was in the mud races and the slop usually aren't as fast, it was 2 minutes, 4 seconds, and 20. And that was the 3rd slowest ever. Not ever, but in the last 50 years. It was 48th out of 50. Which, okay. Yeah, and other races were running the slop too, and it was, of the races running the slop, it was one of the slowest. So, I was a little questionable on that, and he went to the Preakness, and he won that race in 1:55.93. Now it's a 1/8 of a mile shorter, a 16th of a mile shorter there. And that time in the last 50 years was the 37th of 50. That was also run in the mud. Also, when I was looking at that list, in recent years, it really looks like there's been slower times for these races. It really stood out to me in the Preakness, because as I sorted the last 50 years by time, in the past 10 years, it's been really slow, with the exception of California Chrome. He was the only one that was really in the top 50 percentile. And to me, is this from breeding has changed? There was at one point where we thought after the Barbaro incident, we thought we're all going to synthetic tracks for a little bit. And of course, synthetic tracks, as I've talked about it before, they play differently. Maybe the breeding for that little brief amount of time, it was only, 4 or 5 years before they started going back to dirt. But for that little stretch where the breeding patterns switched up to where now we have a sub-quality horse. It could be, because, just look at those Preakness times. Something's going on there. Unless maybe just our timing has gotten more accurate. Well, in any case, Justify's time was a 36th out of 50 there. Then if we go to the Belmont, he ran it in 2:28.18. This was actually pretty good. It was the 20th of 50. It was 2 seconds behind American Pharaohs, though. It was 2 full seconds. This is the first one without mud, too, when it comes to Triple Crown races. Now, American Pharaoh, I think he's a pretty super horse. He completed everything by running in the Breeders' Cup Classic and winning it. He only had that one loss up in Saratoga, where Keen Ice caught him. But, I mean, it'd be great if there was an undefeated horse through their whole career, but even the greats have an off race here and there. So, Justify here, he ran at 2:28. He had a little bit of help, though. Things like that, it's kind of questioning, like, if he's such a super horse, did he need that help? Like, why did Giroux do that? Why? If this whole conspiracy thing is true, why did Baffert feel he needed that? Is he tired? Is he not? It is a good time. So, personally, I don't think that Justify would have lost. I picked against him. I picked Bravazzo. Bravazzo did get pinned in on the rail, and I was a little upset about that when I did come home and see the replay, because I purposely picked Bravazzo over Hofberg because I thought he'd be closer to the front. And with Belmont, usually the winner is in the top 3 by the time they hit that half-mile pole. So, to see Restoring Hope just pinning Bravazzo on the rail to where he may have been forced to go a little slower than he wanted to, or didn't get the optimal trip. If that was on purpose, and Restoring Hope did finish way in the back, yeah, I'm a little upset on that one. But in the end, Justify won it. Now they're saying he'll probably run the Haskell, and then the Pennsylvania Derby, and then go into the Breeders' Cup. That'd be interesting. The Haskell will probably, maybe Good Magic goes against him. I don't know. Maybe some other horse like the last 2 years pops up, like your Arrogate or West Coast. Right now, out of all the horses, is there a better horse than Justify when it comes to the Breeders' Cup Classic? I don't know. Is Thunder Snow going to be in it? Is Thunder Snow that great? I mean, Thunder Snow, like Mendelssohn, had a terrible Kentucky Derby, but then Thunder Snow came back and whooped West Coast right off the map at the Dubai World Cup. So, is Justify on par with Thunder Snow? Is Justify on par with West Coast? Is West Coast that good? There's a lot of question marks out there, and even though he won the Triple Crown, I want to see him in these races, and if he wins the Breeders' Cup, that's the one that's really going to be, okay, you can put him on as one of the best, because, yeah, he got a late start in February. So I'm not trying purposely to take away from Justify because I thought he was overhyped. Has he lived up to the hype? No, he hasn't lived up to the hype, but he's on his way to living up to the hype. That is my opinion on that. Because even when he came out of California, let's look at the horses that he was beating there. I mean, Bolt d'Oro. What happened to him? He's been awful. Since the Santa Anita Derby, Bolt d'Oro didn't even contend in the Kentucky Derby. Then he went in the Met Mile, and he finished last. He had the doors blown off him in the Met Mile. Bolt d'Oro was with McKinsey. Maybe McKinsey would have been a really good competition for Justify there, but unfortunately McKinsey got hurt. I hope McKinsey comes back. It'd be interesting to see if McKinsey was anything, because McKinsey, Solomini, and Bolt d'Oro, those 3 were the big ones out in California. And they battled, they had like close to dead heats. They had some epic battles out there going into the Derby. And Bolt d'Oro's looking like nothing. McKinsey's been off the map, and Solomini hasn't been doing anything either. Solomini was entered into an allowance race, and he got scratched from it. Solomini's being entered in these low races. I don't know. Also, let's talk a little bit about how the ownership things have affected the Triple Crown. Justify didn't have to face Audible again. I'm eagerly anticipating an Audible rematch against Justify. But now we're in the case of, well, if they purposely went out of their way to manipulate a race for Justify to win the Belmont, if that's true, which to me the evidence points that it is, are they ever going to face off against each other again? Let's say Audible takes a different route. Let's say Audible goes to the Travers, and Audible, puts up sick time in that and wins. Do you enter Audible in the Breeders' Cup, or do you duck him again? Do you enter him in the Pennsylvania Derby, or you duck him? You put him in the Pacific Classic instead, or something. Are they ever going to cross paths? Personally, I don't think they will. Only because he and Mendelssohn are the only two that I saw going to the Kentucky Derby that could have beat Justify. Good Magic, possibly. And Good Magic gave him a good run in the Preakness. Maybe Good Magic pops up. Maybe Bravazzo gets a better trip. But even to say Bravazzo, that's I feel dirty saying that. Because I didn't think of anything of Bravazzo going into the Derby or the Preakness. He was a write-off candidate for me. Yeah. And he just happened to close well in the Preakness. And then I started believing, oh, maybe this horse has it. Maybe he can get the distance. Because if there is a little bit extra distance in the Preakness, I think Bravazzo wins. But maybe Mike Smith was right that he said, oh, I had more horse in me. I just didn't let him loose at the end. So in the end, I really want to see what the summer season brings. And I'm eagerly anticipating. And you should too. Because there's going to be some great races out there. And I think that's a good segue into our competition. We've got some amazing races coming up. We got another segment coming up. We just closed out our first segment, the Triple Crown segment. D'Lo won it, and Joanna, she came in second. I came in third, and unfortunately, Courtney is the one. She's part of the control group. She's going to be doing the fitness miles. We're going to be posting those pretty soon. We just have to get out to New Jersey to run that, and we'll post them on the Twitter. It should be a lot of fun. She's kind of dreading it, but it's going to be a good time. It's all in fun. That's what we want to bring here. So yeah, I lost to the control group because of the doubling. I had a rough time. I blame the mud a lot. Monomoy Girl is the only one that really those are the only races that was turning profits in were Monomoy Girl races, and that's why she's my favorite horse right now. But man, it was a frustrating first segment for me. I'm trying out kind of a new way. I started making my own speed figures, and I'm still in the adjustment period for that. And then when it came to this mud stuff, and then Belmont, and I had to take some risk at the end to try to see if I could possibly catch up to D'Lo. I don't want him winning. I really don't. But you know what? I embrace the failure. I do say it was a failure. My ROI is not looking good at all right now. However, last year I started off very, very weak too. Then I started analyzing what my bets were a little bit better, getting a better feel for the horses, how they run, summertime, different tracks, things like that. I'm hoping I turn the corner earlier in this next segment here. It starts off with Stephen Foster, the Fleur de Lis, and the Summertime Oaks this weekend. Stay tuned for that. It's pretty interesting though. I did some statistics, and I encourage you to do this too. Track all your bets. Now, due to the fact that this competition, we have to bet $50 and only $50 per race. In real life, I don't do that. I only bet on things that I think I have an advantage on. I don't take as many risks. But it's really cool to actually track your own bets and just see exactly, where you're pretty good at picking and where you're pretty bad. So I'm just going to give you the cumulative stats for the group. So this is if you look at all the Twitter feed there, you'll see all the pictures. I'm going to post them up on a website too. I got in the making right now. I just haven't had the time to get around to fully getting that up there. But cumulative stats, we have made quite a few individual bets. And remember, if you box something, that's not just one bet, that's multiple bets because you're boxing it. So by far our best type of bet was the win bet. When it came to expected value, this was where we by far made the most amount of money. Now, this is the majority because people betting Justify to win, going really heavy on him to win. And he actually had okay returns. Even the Belmont, I thought he was going to be bet down to like 10 cents. Or 10 cent return on the dollar. He had 80 cent return on the dollar. This is an 80% ROI on him to win. If I would have known that, man, I would have bet him to win instead. I'll take 80% any day. But I didn't. I went for the glory because I thought there was no value in betting him. But amazing that the bettors thought otherwise. Maybe they're listening to this program and they're going, "Oh no, he is overhyped. Maybe he can't win." No. I wish I had that kind of influence. Maybe you can make me with that kind of influence. Follow us on Twitter at SportsDry. But yes, win bets and place bets have been our money makers. As weird as it is. And we're actually, for win bets, we're only 5 out of 15, but they've been paying off well enough to cover that cost. Where we've been the worst has been our exactas. We've been kind of sucking wind in our exactas We've only hit 4 out of 265. That's not good. It's been by far the biggest money loser of all of them. That's not good. On the win bet, it's a plus 170, 164. So, track your bets. It's really cool. My individual ones, I had my stats from last year, and I was looking at them, and I was like, oh, win bets stunk for me last year, so I stopped doing them. I was only 1 out of 18 on straight up win bets last year. But I did well on exacta bets, so I was going heavy on the exactas. Well, I've been burned on the 2 position when it comes to exactas. Non-favorites have been coming in. I mean, not non-favorites, kind of long shots like Gronkowski in the Belmont Stakes. Gronkowski comes in second. I didn't have Gronkowski. He was a throwaway horse to me. I didn't trust anything that I saw in him. But that's the way it goes. The good thing is, though, the chaos of the Triple Crown is over, which I'm glad. The Kentucky Derby is 20 horses. It takes a lot of luck to sometimes hit the Derby because so much chaos happens, like what happened to Mendelssohn. I didn't see that happening. Next year, I don't think I'm going to touch anybody on that auxiliary gate or on the last post before it because of all that craziness that goes on. When it came to the Preakness, there was all this crazy mud and fog and things like that. Okay, you want to make excuses. Okay, I'm making excuses. Justify still won. I did pick him to win the Preakness, but I didn't hit any of my bets on that. And then when it came to the Belmont, we had some other chaos and the fact that it's 1.5 miles and they never run that distance again, probably for the rest of their lives. Yeah, it makes it very tough to handicap. The stuff we're coming into now we're getting into our 1.16 1.8 1.25 From here on out, that's basically what it is. And then you got your milers too. But it's a lot of 1.8 1.25 Classic route distance. Love that. And the horse fields aren't going to be 20. So keep an eye out when it comes to the summertime here. We've got a 10 race segment coming up. If you know any good punishments for who the loser is in this, please let us know. Tweet at us. We've got some ideas floating around there, but we'd love to have you guys out there pick the punishment for us. So yeah, have a great rest of the week. And go out and make money.